Hi, welcome to the Avid Knits podcast. My name is Sarah and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry both as Avid Knits. Today is May 29th, 2020. It is 85 degrees, partly cloudy here in Houston, and we are expecting thunderstorms this evening. We're at that point of the year where we get thunderstorms every day. It may or may not be 90% of the reason I still live here. I'm finishing coffee out of my Utah mug from Starbucks. So you have the Capitol building in Salt Lake City and Lake Tahoe, and then we got some skiing on over here, and Arches National Park. Yeah, that's about that. How is everybody today? You know, I was going through my subscription list on my YouTube, and I unsubscribed from a couple of podcasters. And, you know, while I was doing it, I was thinking to myself that it wasn't even necessarily that I didn't like those podcasters, or that there was anything wrong with those podcasters. So I really kind of sat down to think about what it was that those podcasters had in common that resulted in me choosing to end my subscription. And what I think I have found is that I don't enjoy fluff. It's good in the moment. Sometimes it's necessary, get your head out of it, you know, whatever. But I really enjoy a podcast that grows. So I like to find new podcasts, but at the same time, I find that some of my favorite podcasters are the ones who have been doing it for a while. And I also find that the people who have really been doing it for a while generally don't stick to just podcasting. Like, there's quite a bit of personal that comes into it. Some podcasters choose to knitting content at the front because that's why you're here, right? And then life stuff at the end. And, you know, I've tried that. I've done that a couple times. I'm not sure that that's really a model that works for me. I think that some of my favorite podcasters are the people who lay it out there in the beginning. And that, to me, I think I enjoy more because it's more authentic, isn't it? It's more like when you meet somebody new, or whenever you have a friend and you sit down. You know, very rarely do you sit down with a friend for a coffee date and talk about fluff for 30 minutes before you start getting into the good stuff. Well, no, because then you're going to have to interrupt the good stuff to go home. So you say what you need to say, and then you fill in the gaps and you fill in the endings with fluffy stuff. I find that my favorite podcasters are the people who just lay it on you. And if you just really don't want to hear it, you're going to have to skip forward. And I enjoy that because I enjoy the idea of, this is me. To get to the good fluffy stuff, to get to the good stuff that you like about me, you have to go through the real stuff, the real slog. Does it make sense? You know, you don't get just the pretty face. Like, you have to take all of it. And I appreciate that because it is very much who I am. I am very, very much a face value person. I know that I have a lot of new subscribers. Thanks so much for checking me out and for trying it and for sticking around. And I hope that you'll stay after you hear this confession of mine. I am not everybody's cup of tea. And I make no apologies. None for that. Who I am is very hard earned. And what you see on this camera and what you see even in my first introduction video way back when, last year or something, you know, even in my first introduction video, you get told one story, two stories that I think you need to know to kind of sort of understand where I come from. But just like any of you, like, that's absolutely not the whole story. I was supposed to podcast last week. I wanted to podcast last week, but then I didn't. And I didn't because last weekend, for most of you, United States, is Memorial Day weekend. The 23rd of May is my anniversary with my first husband, who, for those of you who don't know, was a soldier and was killed in the line of duty. Not in action, just in the line of duty. He was not overseas when he died. But I also come from a very long line of military, and I lost a lot of people, a lot of friends, family. Some of them in combat and some of them not. Some of them in stupid things like motorcycle accidents, and some of them, you know, from IEDs. So For me, Memorial Day is absolutely not a barbecue. It's not. And the fact that my anniversary for my late husband falls on that same weekend, that's probably the roughest weekend of my year. I have to say it's probably worse than when the anniversary of his death comes around, or any of that stuff. I think this is definitely the hardest weekend for me. So, I took it off. I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna hole up. And I did that. And the moment I came out of my hole, there's three different headlines of three different people who were murdered for their skin color. It's been a very long couple of weeks. I would implore you to realize that the fact that policemen are not being held accountable for their actions against the murders of 3 innocent lives, 5 innocent lives, 24, and so thousands of innocent lives over the history of this country and the history of this planet, I would implore you to realize that every time that you don't hold a cop accountable, all it's doing is meaning that your family, if you're white, that your family in your privileged situation that you think that can't possibly happen to me, that all you're doing is making sure that it's going to happen to you. Our country is built upon the backs of Black and brown people and Asians. It is built on their backs. If you're not quite sure how that's possible, or you think that I might be wrong, I have a history degree and a bunch of time. Please feel free to hit me up. I will give you examples. Because of that history, and it's not just our history, it's a history that we inherited from Great Britain. It's a history that every civilization in the world shares. Every civilization in the world has enslaved, undermined, committed genocide against another race. It just seems that the Blacks seem to get the brunt of it. In America, we had 9/11, and that there was a rise of hate crimes against Muslims. But it did not stop the hate crimes against Blacks. We're having border control disputes, border issues. Latinx crimes are on the rise, but it hasn't stopped hate crimes against Blacks. Same for the LGBTQIA community, same for the Asian community, the Native American community. None of those other communities have received the overwhelming tide of hatred that the Black community has received in this country. And in most of the world, to be honest. And that's not saying that any of you watching this are bad people. I'm saying that all of you watching this, no matter your skin color, has been raised and conditioned to be prejudiced against the skin colors around you. But at the end of the day, the Blacks are the ones who, at least in America, I don't know, maybe they share a spot with the Native Americans. Genocide and attrition in this country seems to be a running theme. Anyway, my point to all of this is that hate is not tolerated here in this channel, and it is not tolerated in this area. I will absolutely not turn my head and tell you that we will get on with our knitting while something like this is happening in my country. I did not serve for this. I didn't wear a uniform for this. My family hasn't died so that it could be this way. You cannot expect the persecuted communities, the Blacks, the Asians, the Latinx, the Muslims, the gays, you cannot expect them to effect change. They're the ones who are being picked on. I know that America especially is inundated with this idea that if there is a bully, if all of the people who are being picked on rise up. They can overthrow the bully, and they can. And they can. But in the case of racism, when all of the bullies control everything from the police force to the politics to the money, it's a lot harder. Sometimes it really helps to have allies. And in those instances, you need allies. You need those people who can look around at the bullies that maybe they grew up with, maybe they're friends with, maybe they share a table with, and say, you know what? It's not right. Sometimes you got to break some friendships. I'm not asking all of you to go out and march on your courthouse steps. If you can, please go. Please go. If you can't, read social media, Google. You have the fount of human knowledge at your fingertips in whatever device it is that you're watching me on. There is absolutely no excuse for ignorance, none whatsoever. If you are one of those people who's shaking your head at me and thinking that there's no way it's as bad as I'm saying and I'm a snowflake and making a big deal out of it, I would very, very, very much encourage you to prove me wrong. And I think that you will find when you do that, that there is a trail of broken bodies throughout the history of this country. It doesn't make it your personal fault. I am not sitting here saying that Tracy, who's watching us, I don't know if I have a Tracy. If your name is Tracy, hi. It's not your personal fault that these things are happening in this country. You did not stand up and say, this is the one that I want. Probably. But your silence makes you complicit. And your silence means that you are standing there accepting and approving of what is happening. Now, I know that change takes time, and it does. It takes a lot of time. And I know that a lot of us are feeling very overwhelmed by the monstrosity that is hate and racism in this country, and what do we even do? And I would encourage you to look at the faces around you who are being persecuted. Black people are tired too, y'all. We feel overwhelmed. They are being overwhelmed. And they are being murdered in their daily lives, shopping, exercising, in their own homes and in front of their children. And we're not even prosecuting the police who are doing it, the people who are sworn to serve and protect, the people who wear a badge and took an oath, the people who are trained, but we're blaming the people who just happen to have a skin color. So fun fact about genetics. Skin color is only a byproduct of the region in which you live and in which you hail from. Now, obviously, my family is German and French descent. We live in the north. We have mountains and forests and snow. I don't need pigment. I don't need black skin. I don't need melanin. But my husband, who's from Mexico, from the middle of the desert, his family generationally has needed that. Our friends who are from India and Pakistan, they have needed that. They live in a much harsher climate than I did. Or my family hails from, my ancestors did. The cradle of civilization, y'all, is Africa. And Africa is hot and brutal, and that is why they have dark skin. That is why they have dark skin. It is nothing more than evolution. It is nothing more than a biological response to the elements that a person, a creature, needs to survive in. Nobody thinks twice about an elephant having this long-ass nose. That's fine, but heaven forbid that somebody has a darker skin color than somebody else. There's a lot of y'all that are much more moved about watching a dog get kicked than you are about watching a man get choked on a grocery store floor. And that's disgusting. So, please read. Please educate yourself. Please don't go into the DMs of a person of color that you know or think you know or have on your feed and tell them how much you're hurting for them. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you're hurting for them, donate your time, your money, your voice. I'm not saying call up and donate $1 million to the ACLU, and I'm not saying go picket on the courthouse steps if you can't do that, pandemic. I am saying, though, write your congressman. Write everybody. Everybody from your sheriff to your mayor to your HOA leader to your representative to your senator. Make Trump's inbox blow up. J.K. Rowling, her living room should look like Harry Potter after some of the crap that she has said. When Harry gets his owl and there's like a little mini tornado in the middle of his living room because all these letters are trying to get to him through the fireplace, that's what Rowling's inbox should look like after her transphobic and homophobic comments that she has made. You have to affect change. You have to make change happen. And that's on everybody. That is not just one person's responsibility or one race's responsibility or one color's responsibility, one gender, it's not. It's everybody's responsibility. Because no matter whether or not you think people should be gay, or whether or not you think that it's okay that a man dresses like a woman, or whether you agree with interracial marriage, whatever, the point is that these are lives. These are people who are just as important as you are, who are just as deep as you are, and sometimes more, who have culture and family, and every single person that you have in your life, all the lives that you've ever touched, that's what this person has too. And in the same way that you have touched all of these lives have been touched by you. Just as all of these lives have been touched by this one person who was murdered in his car in front of his daughter and his wife, who was killed on his way home from his evening jog, who was standing in his own backyard on a cell phone and shot. I'm asking you not to turn a blind eye, not to go back to your knitting. I'm asking you to take 5 minutes out of your day. Get on Google, type in Black Lives Matter, type in Justice for Floyd, type in Philando Castile. I'm asking you to put in your search box, how can I help? How can I affect change? Put anti-racism in there and it will come up with resources. I will link some below for you. I'll absolutely link some below for you. Let me help you. Let me be your Google. I will link it below and I will get you started. You don't have to give money. It's a really crappy time right now. I totally understand that. You don't have to give money. But you can give your voice. You can simply be the teacher on the schoolyard that looks at the bully and says, hey, no, stop it. Go over there. And give some reprieve to your neighbor. So, that is what I'm going to say about that. And if any of you are left, thanks for staying. I appreciate it. I need some scotch here pretty quick. It's only like 3 p.m. All right. That's been my couple of weeks. I hope that y'all's were better. I hope that they were... No, I don't. I don't hope they were less emotional. I hope that you are sucking as much as I am. I hope that you are hurting as much as I am. And I hope that you are pissed off. And I hope that you take that and you use it. That's what I hope. I put up a highlight story on my Instagram that not only touches on some of the things that I just said, but also gives some resources for what you can do to help, some ideas of where you can help. And there is a list. It is not a comprehensive list. It's not an exhaustive list. It's not even a big list. But it's a list of Black people who have been murdered by police and nothing's been done. And I hope that you will read it. I hope that you will say their names and let their memories live for a couple of minutes. And I hope that when you do it, I hope it stirs something in you, and I hope it pisses you off, and I hope that you write your congressman. But if nothing else, write your congressman, write your senator. The stuff that is coming out of Trump's fingers right now on Twitter, when the president of the United States has to be blocked on Twitter because his words are inciting violence, I don't care about your political leanings. I don't care about your political leanings. I don't care about your political leanings. But there comes a point where your political leanings don't cover up the fact that somebody's an asshole. I'm not asking you to not be conservative or not be Republican or blah, 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 but I'm not asking that. I'm just asking you to acknowledge it. I'm just asking you to call it like you see it and to hold the guy that you voted for to the same standards that you hold the thugs in Minneapolis. People in Minneapolis are not looting because they are out there to be heathens. They're looting. Nobody is listening. They waited. The people in Minneapolis waited for somebody to say something, and nobody did. I'm asking you to help stop it. And that's all I'm going to say about that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go get a refill, and I will be right back, because I need a minute. Slancha. Okay. So, don't judge me. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Tonight is boys' night. I have the night off. It's Friday, okay? Chevy, the Scotch is for you. Let Dan know that the Laphraoig Select cast is not as smoky as the regular Laphraoig, but it's still pretty good. I'm enjoying it. It's good stuff. I'm liking it. Any of you who are Scotch drinkers, drop me down below. Let me know what your favorite Scotch is. I'm always on the hunt for a new one. So far, my favorites, I think, are the Balvenie Double Oak. I like that one. It's very smooth. Shelled Egg makes a really nice... You can see the bottle in my head. It's blue. Anyway, Shelled Egg has a nice line. I'll think of it in a little bit. It's not an Islay. It's a Coastal. The Coastal. What the hell is it called? I don't remember. Laphraoig 10-year is my favorite Islay. This one's pretty good too. And Islay, for those of you who don't drink Scotch, is really smoky tobacco, kind of peaty smell. Laphraoig touts itself as being the smokiest. And I have to say, it's pretty up there. It's pretty up there while still being really good. I think Lagavulin is probably my absolute favorite Scotch, but I'm not paying for that all the time. Shelled Egg makes a really good... It's an intro Scotch. Not an intro Scotch, I guess, but it was the one that we started with. It's not a Highland. Shelled Egg is named because there's a lock of the herring. I'll put it here. I will put it here. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I can't remember it. Anyway, they make a really great one. It's really affordable. Yeah. So, happy Friday, guys. Let's get into some knitting. I don't have any finished... Yes, I'm lying to you. I have a finished object, though. So, for those of you who've been around for a while will know that I keep a pair of socks in my car. I keep it in my Fringe field bag, which is nowhere to be right here. Keep it in my Fringe field bag. This is the tartan. I think it's called the Black Watch or something like that. Anyway, it's their wax canvas. Favorite Fringe bag is the wax canvas. I hate to tell you that, but the wax canvas makes all the difference in the world. And it wears in super pretty. So, yeah, let me get into Fringe. I am a Fringe field bag fan. Not always Karen Templar's biggest fan. However, I do acknowledge that she and the Fringe company have taken good steps, big steps to rectify the pain that she caused in the knitting community last year. I feel comfortable enough to continue to purchase from them now. I did take a very long time off. However, this is my favorite bag. I got it as an anniversary gift when we went to Black Mountain Yarn Shop in Asheville, North Carolina. My husband took me on an anniversary trip 2-3 years ago, something like that, and I've had it ever since. And honestly, it feels, other than being a little bit softer, it feels the same as it did the day I bought it. It's wonderful. So this is where I keep my sock knitting. I always have this going. I like to use it for other stuff, but it's not the biggest bag in the world, and since I knit sweaters, I run out of space really fast usually. This is my sock yarn that I've had in there. This is the Lady Persephone BFL nylon base from Countess Ablaze. It is in the colorway A Light That Never Comes, which is a Linkin Park reference. And I knit Rose City Rollers, because that's what I always knit. I knit anatomical toes, which means that they are toes that have left and right feet. They are my favorite toes to knit and to wear, and one of them is drastically shorter than the other, apparently. That's frustrating. Anyway, both of them are too short for me. So I have a girlfriend who has a foot that is about half a size smaller than mine, and she's going to get these, I think. Once I figure out about this stupid toe, if it is or is not actually shorter. It could just be that I've tried on one of them and I never tried the second one on, so they kind of stretch a little bit. First finished object. And by first, I mean only. That's the only finished object I have. I don't have anything else. I did start a new sock bag project. It is in Nomadic Yarns Twisty Sock, I guess. Trusty Sock. I don't know which one this is. I'm sorry. It's one of those two, though. This is Defense Against the Dark Arts. It is a Harry Potter reference, obviously. All the things are Harry Potter. Always, it seems. I am through my little cuffy thing, and I am just barely starting. Yeah, I'm on like row 2 of the heel flap. So, whatever. When I do my shorty socks, I do not actually follow the Rose City Roller pattern. Rose City Roller pattern, which is written by Mara Catherine Bryner, who's Orange Knits on Instagram. I don't follow her pattern. Mina Phillip from the Knitting Expat has a free vanilla sock pattern. Don't remember the name of it. And in it, it has a mini heel flap adjustment. And that's the one I use for my shorties because it's shorter than a normal heel flap and so therefore fits better. Afterthought heels don't fit really great on my feet, although I found that with my socks, I think that my biggest problem with my socks has not been my heels, but my toes. So I can't do a standard round toe or a wedge toe. I think it's because I broke a hip a few years ago, so the way that my foot twists, especially on my right side, is a little bit different. And I have a really drastic decrease from my big toe down to my pinky. So when I have a normal rounded toe, it's almost like when I put my foot down, the way that I step kind of twists the bottom of my foot, but then it ends up twisting the whole sock. Basically, I end up with holes in my socks all the time. It's really aggravating. But the anatomic toe seems to have fixed that a lot. I have two pairs of Nomadic Yarn socks. One is in Lupin, one is in Sirius. I have talked about them at great length all the time, and I am wearing a pair of them now, and I will not put my foot up because not bendy. And they are my absolute favorite pair of socks. So, hoping that fixes things because I don't want holes in those socks. All right, Fringe. So for Mother's Day, I asked for a town bag. Now, Fringe has a flaw. It is that whenever they take pictures of their stuff, they're very highly contrasted, which leads you to kind of get an inaccurate color representation of some of their stuff. So I ordered a brown bag, and I thought it would be a dark caramel color. On the picture, which I did this last time, on the picture, it's a very dark caramel color. When I received it, it was it was this color. And I don't dislike this bag. This is twill and print, by the way. I like this bag, but it wasn't the color I was looking for. So I sent it back. And I got myself a Porter bin. Now, the Porter bin is exactly what it sounds like. It's a bucket. So let me take my project out of here. So I have my crochet granny stripe blanket in here, and honestly, I could put 3 of those in here, and I would probably just then hit the top. This is a huge bucket. So it has pockets on the insides. Hopefully this makes sense to you. It's got this really cool little band across the top of it or whatever. It's an open box. You can use these as handles. Looks really nice. Super cute. Really sturdy. I like to knit in the car. Car knitting is my absolute favorite, and it would be really convenient to have an open box that can sit in my floorboard with my sweater in it that I can knit out of and just take it with me. The ability to close my project bags is not as important to me as the space or convenience of being able to put a project into it. So yeah, that was my Fringe thing. Okay, sorry everything's a little bit off, but I was editing and realized that I don't have the rest of this video. So I'm just gonna do the ending of this really quick. So I just talked about my fringe bag. My editing is right there, so I'm trying to find out where I was. I don't know how I deleted it, but apparently I deleted it somehow. Anyway, so my other work in progress is this right here. This is the Slytherin sweater. It is a test knit that I did for Meghan Reagan of Bad Wolf Girl Sits and Knits. She has an entire House Pride collection. I think I knit the 40-inch, 42. I don't really remember, to be honest with you. I'm just going off charts right now. My main color is some Cascade Heritage that I had in stash in the Forged Iron colorway, and the green is Meghan's yarn, who is Bad Wolf Girl Sits and Knits. She has Bad Wolf Girl Studios. Her yarn, and it's called Herbology, and it's this neon green that you see up here in the corner. It does have gray speckles in it, so some of my charts aren't as crisp maybe as they could be, but that does not bother me. I really enjoy that. So I have the death mark right here, I have keys, and then the original chart, this is Starburst, but I chose to change that into the Deathly Hollows. Meghan's patterns come, they've been released. They are coming in a sock weight and in a DK weight. Both of those will give you all 4 houses, and I think she's giving supplementary charts. Like when I tested this, I had the option of taking this out. She gave me 2 or 3 different options for the first chart that you could change it into. And she would have counts to say for substitute for the first chart, for the second, for the third. So I am here and I'm about to hit, I'm on the body. I'm about to do this, the snake. And then my sweater will be done. So, I have not been knitting. I can't knit. The week before Memorial Day, so Memorial Day was a Monday, obviously. The Monday before that, it's like 3 days after my last podcast, I went to the dentist. I had a couple of cavities I had to have handled. No big deal. So I get a shot here, I get a shot here, and I get a shot here. Forewarning, the ones up here hurt a little bit more. It wasn't anything bad. It was fine. Obviously, I was numb a few minutes later, so it wasn't fine. It was fine. But this one traveled a little bit more than I think it was supposed to, and I ended up with the entire right side of my nose numb. So I could have sworn that my nose was clogged up. My nose was clogged up for the entire day, and it wasn't. It was just numb. But I don't know if when I was on the chair, if I had my neck kinked at a weird angle or what. I don't know. Maybe it hit something here and I've been clenching my jaw and I have this terrible tension headache. I don't know what it is. But for the last 10 days, and I'm sure you can tell as I'm moving around here, for the last 10 days, I have been completely locked up from here up the back of my neck, like over here in my ears, under my jaw. To be absolutely frank, I feel like there's a square of muscle underneath the back of my skull. And if I could just unplug that, it would drag tendons from here and here down the back of my neck, and it would feel so good. And I could just rip it out. Ice is not helping. Heat is not helping. Ibuprofen's not helping. My husband finally last night was sick and tired of hearing me. And just basically tried to like rip the muscles out of my neck. Not really. He just gave me a really nice deep tissue massage and it felt so much better. But I think I'm gonna have him do it again because it's not perfect at all. My girlfriend Melody suggested this torture device thing that you lay on the floor for pressure points, and that's not helping. Yeah, so I have a really, really massive pain tolerance. So if my pain tolerance is here, but my pain is here, normally I'm only noticing this difference. But after 10 days when I get tired, obviously, the more tired you are, the lower your pain tolerance is. Anybody with chronic pain knows that. So I'm not, like, this is all compartmentalized. This is negligible. It's canceled out. I don't even notice it. Usually I just notice this little part. But right now I'm noticing the whole thing. And to be absolutely blunt with you, it's torture. It's absolutely terrible. I hate it. So I'm having a lot of trouble with my turning. I'm doing a lot of stretching. I'm doing yoga. I'm trying to stay mobile, you guys. It's just really not working. So hopefully that'll loosen up a little bit because I haven't been knitting because I can't knit. Which sucks. But here we be. So, that's all the works in progress I have. I've made like half an inch of progress on my vintage 83 shirt. So Sharon, if you're watching, it's coming along. I'm not getting done very fast. Fortunately, it's not a very big tee, so it won't take very long. As soon as I'm able to knit, I'll have it done in a couple of days. So I got some stuff in my mailbox, that I wanted to talk about. Amy Florence of the Stranded podcast is my absolute all-time favorite podcaster. Most of you know that. She is also the dyer behind Stranded Dye Works, and she dyes really beautiful stuff. She did a charity color for the National Health Service. She is in Great Britain. She lives in Scotland now. And she did 2 colors. One was called Wash Your Hands, and the other one was called Don't Touch Your Face. They are the exact same color, but Don't Touch Your Face has the peaches and the pinks, and Wash Your Hands is lilac. So you have Wash Your Hands and Don't Touch Your Face. So I got 2 skeins of it on her Merino Sport, which is super squishy and really plump. I do have a summer top picked out for it. I'm not positive I'll go with that. Who knows anymore? I have like 3 colors of Amy's. If you look up here, I don't know if you can see it, but if you look up there, I have Anti-Valentine, and I've never knit with it. Sorry, I need to do that. Anyway, her base is wonderful. I'm really excited about it. So, yeah, so there's that. Now, Amy Florence, little miss. If you guys don't watch Amy Florence, you just turn me off and take yourself over there. She's great, and her Knit Mojo is back. So I think she did like 4,000 meters or something last week she finished. She is participating, as am I, in Stash Dash. Stash Dash is an annual knit along to knit through your stash as much as you possibly can. And it's held from the end of May to the end of August. It is hosted by Leslie and Laura of the Knit Girls. Girls with 3 L's. You can find their group on Ravelry. It will have all the rules and all of your tiers. So there is an under 1K, a 3K, a 5K, a 7K, 10K, 15K. And you can enter into which one you hope to achieve. It's a finished object thread. So she tells you exactly how to set up your post. You will click on the one that you want, and then you will start a post. And you'll have your total meterage at the top, and then you'll include every finished object that you do from then on. There are basically no rules this year because pandemic. And yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. It's one of my absolute favorites. You know, everybody does all the knitting retreats in the spring and in the fall. And Laura is a elementary school librarian. So basically this is her summer break. So they chose to do Stash Dash during that so she could try to work down what she was getting from shows every year. So she would not have this giant buildup of yarn, which was really cool. So I usually do 10K. I haven't missed a goal yet. And I'm going to do 10 again this year. So I need my shoulder so I can get on with it. I have things to do. 4 sweaters on the needles, 1 promised. And I actually have something in the works right now that I'm hoping to have all the details finalized on by the time I talk to you next time. But basically, it's going to be a raffled sweater. So if you have ever wanted to have a hand knit sweater, or don't like to knit sweaters, or are not confident in knitting sweaters, or know somebody you would like a sweater for, or know somebody who does not knit who would really like a sweater, maybe keep an eye out because there will be a raffle for a sweater. And I have a couple of really great designers who have offered the run of their patterns. You get to pick which pattern. I have yarn being donated. You get to pick the base and the colors, and I will knit you a sweater to your measurements. So keep an eye out for that, okay? That'll probably be on my Instagram, and then I will talk about it on next week's podcast. And I'll give you time to enter so that we're not getting all over that. All proceeds from the raffle will be going to an anti-racism group, and I have yet to pick one. So I will, like I said, give all the details next time. The other thing that I got in the mail is this gorgeous skein, and this is from Julie of Sweet Sparrow Yarns. You guys know that I am part of her Celtic Club colorway, or her Celtic Colorways Club. And this is Beltane, so it is named for May Day, which is the pagan holiday of Beltane, and I got a little stitch marker here. And with all of her colors, Julie sends you a little card to tell you about the holiday and the inspiration behind it. Beltane is the Celtic festival marking the beginning of summer, celebrated on May 1st, celebrating the return of the sun. Beltane is a holiday centered around fertility of all kinds, with cattle being traditionally driven between two bonfires in the hopes that the smoke would protect them from disease and the meddling of any malicious fairy folk, along with bringing fertility for the livestock. Of course, humans got in on the fertility rituals, and Beltane is thought to be the origin of May Day and of the tradition of dancing around a maypole. Couples leap over a Beltane bonfire together to bring fertility to their union, then disappear into the forest together for the night to engage in a more pragmatic approach. The Welsh goddess Cradlead, sometimes known as the May Queen, is associated with both flowers and love, and blossoms are strewn abundantly through the Beltane decorations to celebrate the fertility of the earth. She chose to represent Beltane with the soft green of new leaves, speckled with all the colors of a blooming garden in early summer, bursting with all the reds and yellows and pinks and violets that we've waited for through a gray winter and a muddy spring. The citrine progress keeper represents the golden rays of the sun and is even sometimes referred to as the light maker stone. Citrine is a stone of optimism, encouraging new beginnings and letting go of the past, moving into a new phase of the earth, much as the earth does as summer begins. So, I'm super excited to have that. I was talking to Julie earlier, and she will actually be donating the yarn for that sweater. I actually think I'm going to do 2 lots. I have 2 designers who are interested in participating, so I will probably do 2 lots of custom sweater. So keep a lookout for that. Julie will be donating yarn for the first one, and she has amazing colorways. It's going to be really, really nice. I'm really excited. And I think that's it. I think that's about all I have for you. So I hope you have a good weekend. I hope you do good works. Be kind. Bye.